He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute! Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute and Robin. This is the podcast where we're sorry, but not sorry about talking about Batman and Robin 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here to punish society every episode, constantly, non-stop. It is your other host, John Parker. Hello.
That's what this podcast has been, is like a slow burning punishment towards society. As people always know, it's like, oh, the quality's been getting worse and worse, but it's like, oh, that's the twist. That's what we've been doing the whole time.
Yeah, we hooked you and then we destroyed you.
Yeah, but today we're joined by two veterans of the show, but I think it's the first time they've been on together, I believe. We have, fresh from the grave, Alyson Grimm.
Yeah.
That's how I feel pretty much every weekend.
And not so much fresh from the volcano, but because the show ended a while ago, but from the volcano of Joe versus the Volcano fame, it is Jarf Harden.
And I vow to kill not just the host of Batman and Robin, but the society that formed them.
Oh, okay. I was offended at first, but if you're going to take society down as well, I can live with it. I'll die with it.
Can we just replace them with plants?
Yes.
Oh, so many questions. It's one of those plans. It's just like, if either of these two stop to think about what this plan is, they'd be like, wait a minute. It doesn't make much sense.
And unfortunately, we all had to stop and think about it to make notes.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is minute 82 of Batman and Robin, which begins with a web of deceit, and it ends a minute later with a shouting Sultan of Sleet.
Oh, I thought... I'm now singing it to the Sultans of Swing.
The Mr. Freeze's own band. Just, I am the Sultan of Sleet.
Oh, that needs to happen.
But yeah, so this is Chekhov's necklace has finally come into play with Mr. Freeze, taking this off Ivy as proof that his wife is in fact dead now.
I like the way it's not really proof, though. I think I might have brought this up last week. It's not really proof. Like, she could have just...
Oh, no, it's proof. If you give up your necklace, you're dead. It's not possible you're alive.
It's like dog tags, yeah.
So does that explain, like, your interpretation of the ending of Titanic? She drops, so she is dead because she gives up the necklace?
That's what it is. That's what was keeping her alive.
Ah.
There was power on that amulet. Unholy power.
That's the sequel right there. Titanic 2. You have to retrieve
That's why she threw it in the ocean, because she couldn't have Lewis get... I'm sorry, can I swear on the show? You can blur me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just beep it.
Okay, because she couldn't have Lewis getting a hold of that kind of raw power.
In this scene at the beginning here, I really like Arnold's acting. And the way that the film is sort of taking some time to breathe, let the emotion sink in. It's stopping for a minute.
Well, this is one of
nice.
like the most genuinely like effective moments in the movie when he takes that necklace and we get this great shot, the close up of his eyes and the single tear rolling out, and then it freezes and blows away. A very localized gust of wind comes in and blows it off his cheek.
It's very of the time CGI as well, isn't it?
But it's a great idea, because I think even Bruce Timm, who obviously made Batman the animated series, he was annoyed that he didn't think of this, because obviously the end of Heart of Ice, the classic Mr. Freeze episode, it ends with him sitting in his jail cell talking to the little thing, the little ballerina snow globe thing of Nora, saying like really mourning her loss. And it's the first time in the episode where he's shown emotion, because his goggles are off for the first time, and he's actually tearing up. And I think but it's just normal tears. And I think Bruce Timm has said, like, once he saw this, he's like, we should have had the tear freeze on his cheek. Like, that's actually a genius move. The one bit where Schumacher...
Is that the only positive piece of commentary ever said about Batman and Robin?
Not around these parts, damn it. I'll defend this movie to my dying breath. Actually, but it works on multiple levels as well, because obviously he's cold, so it freezes. Yeah. But to me, it sort of showed two things. First, he basically cannot cry.
Yeah.
Physically. So the fact that this has happened just shows how goddamn upset he is. But the more interesting one to me was number 2 that I thought was, it also feels to me like this is his last tear. Like this is the last of the good within him dying in this moment. He doesn't care anymore. It's like, I'm going to shed this one final tear for my wife, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
This should be one of the big problems with Arnie's Mr. Freeze is that he's way too emotive. Like, he's so jolly most of the time. And this would have been great, actually. This whole scene would have been really good had he been the really cold, clinical Mr. Freeze the whole time. And then Ivy tells him, like, your wife's dead. He does this little tear thing. And then he flips out and is like, oh, my blood will freeze. And even Ivy might be freaked out because she's like, holy crap, I thought he was like so dead inside. I'm surprised now that I thought I would manipulate him. I didn't think he would flip out like this. It would have got a much bigger reaction out of the audience had he actually like erupted at this moment and shown like, no, he is alive in there somewhere. It was just the death of Nora finally broke through the ice, I guess. But this will forever be etched in my memory now as well, though. Just that one shot of the tear. Because the day Joel Schumacher died, one of the fan pages to him, they didn't say anything. They just changed their banner image to that shot of just the tear on the cheek. And I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or touching, but I found it to be both. I was like, that's a nice tribute, but it's also kind of hilarious as well. Like, there was just no comment made. It was just like, we all know what happened. There's the single tear coming out of Mr. Freeze.
Which is the most fitting way that you could memorialize Schumacher, because ridiculous, but also somehow touching is a vibe that he is perfect at.
Oh, totally.
That's basically all of his movies, right?
Yeah.
Because there's parts of this movie that get me choked up.
Well, I think we've talked a couple of times, like the Alfred scenes are really quite well done for the most part. Like, we'll be getting to one at the end of the week, I guess. But we'll talk about them then, I guess. One thing this also did bring to mind, because I saw this thing like a year ago, and I was like, I'm bookmarking this page to bring up during this minute, where I caught a random viral news story about an engineering student who weaponized her tears by freezing them and then building a gun that could shoot the tears at people.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing this article about it.
Yeah, this is Wei-Fei Chun, who's a Taiwanese graduate of the Design Academy of Eindhoven, which is in the Netherlands, apparently. And yeah, she just had a whole story where, like, in Taiwan, it's very strict authority. Like, you're brought up under, like, you never question your teachers, you never question your parents, etc., etc. You go to the Netherlands, in that university, they actively want you to question your teachers and stuff. But she wasn't used to it, and so her teachers used to constantly give her like dressing downs for like she just keep accepting more and more work and getting overwhelmed, and she just couldn't emote that she wanted to be like, back off, that kind of thing. And at one point she broke down crying, and then she thought of the idea of being able to freeze her tears and shoot them at her, bullies, quote unquote, I guess. And I'll send you the picture because it's actually like, it's a popular little thing. She puts like a silicone cup on her cheek. And then it collects the tears. It circles back. I'll put the picture of it with it in the chat there.
Like a diva cup for your tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collects it, goes through little wires into the gun. It has a little bottle with dry ice in it. And yeah, there's a video of her with it. Just shows you this, like, that shoots the tears back out. And the article I read on it just ended with like, yeah, she went and used it on like the dean of that of the university. It doesn't say, is he alive? Is he dead? What's happening?
It blew his head off. Right, so we're gonna tweet her and get her on the show.
We should actually, I didn't think of that. As opposed to just like, bookmark the story. I didn't think we could have just totally asked that woman to come on the show. Apparently she's made things since, some sort of social awkwardness chair, where it's a stool that's the pillows inflated with water, and the more awkward you feel, you let more and more water out into a bottle, and then when you just want to leave and have some time to yourself, you just go, I need to fill up the balloon again, and just leave the room. And that's like I guess it's a good enough idea, but it's like you'd have to bring that stool everywhere, and what if you go somewhere that doesn't have water? Like it's gonna be a pain in the ass. So I don't know if that was the idea she was working on, and then she had the better idea of the tear gun. But I think tear gun wins out in this instance.
We're biased, though.
Yeah.
Is that Drusilla crying in the background?
For once, no.
Oh. I haven't heard a cat meow, and for once it's not one of mine.
It's the phantom cat.
The ghost of Catwoman.
Oh, it's haunting this whole movie.
Was it the Michelle Pfeiffer version or the
Halle Berry version?
It's got to be the Halle Berry.
It's totally got to be Halle Berry. But then, in talking about actually in references to other things, there, it cuts to this great shot of Poison Ivy doing this. I just love her delivery of this. I'm sorry. And then taking off the glasses, and her face just totally changing into like, I do not give any kind of what you're going through right now.
I loved that because I'm sorry. She's just saying what she's supposed to say. There's no emotion to it, as if she means that.
Yeah. But she does have a momentary look of like, yeah, genuine, I'm grieving for you on her face, and then she just doesn't stay with it for more than 2 seconds.
It's like, right, moving on.
Back to plant stuff.
Yeah.
Although I've convinced myself, and I've not found anything to back this up, but I'm assuming I'm correct.
Oh yeah, as usual, eh?
Because I was looking at this image, I was looking at the glasses, and I was like, they look weirdly familiar to me. And then it kind of hit me during the week, like what I'm thinking of is that you're familiar with the 1962 version of Lolita.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sunglasses.
Yeah, the James Mason's introduced to her for the first time. She's out sunbathing in the back, and she kind of lowers her glasses in the same way. And they're exact. I looked at them; they're exactly the same glasses. Like they're not. It's black and white, so I can't tell if they're green or not. But it's the same frames and stuff. And it's controversial. Obviously, Lolita, very problematic text, I guess, in some ways, but also it's actively. The main character is a horrible, horrible guy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it's like, it's supposed to be kind of inappropriate and horrible.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah. And it's, a lot of people take away that kind of vibe, like, oh, she's coming on to him, kind of, but it's like, no, he's the adult. You should be just leaving her the hell alone. And
that's the story, is he should be like, no.
Yeah, yeah. But just then, because Lolita now, as a character, has come to symbolize, like, a temptress, like a nefarious sexuality and stuff, and because that's very much in the vein of Poison Ivy, because that's what she's all about. So
yeah,
and it is weirdly tied in too, because I was recently watching the movie, which is a movie I remember enjoying when I was a teenager, and watching it now. Whew, Beautiful Girls with it's got a bunch of people. Timothy Hutton, obviously guy, cancelled. Michael Rappaport, also cancelled. But it also stars Uma Thurman, and as a figure who's like another one of these movies where she comes in and everyone's just agog at how beautiful she is the whole time. But within that movie, Natalie Portman, who was like 14 at the time, is having a flirty friendship with Timothy Hutton, and he's like 35. And it's like, and she keeps referencing Lolita, going like, oh, we're having a little Nabokov action and stuff. And you're watching it just like, this is, like, I'm sure.
That is not aspirational.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be like, it's symbolic of his lost youth and stuff like this. And it's like, dude,
oh God,
get him away from the kid. I think Natalie Portman in years since has been like, yeah, that movie's messed up. And of course, it's also produced by Miramax, who Weinstein brothers, and it features Mira Sorvino, who of course now infamously had her career entirely torpedoed due to the sexual harassment and rejection of Harvey Weinstein. And it's like, there's not a movie that could be more dated from the 90s than Beautiful Girls.
Yeah, right.
But I just thought it was a weird, everything's connected there. It's all flowing in together. And it's
and it's also almost a perfect document of awfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be the name of the podcast, Investigating It.
But even that too, because we even brought up, you guys seen the movie The Crush with Alicia Silverstone?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
It's basically a movie where it's like Lolita if it was like a thriller, where she is coming on to, who's the guy? Carrie Ewells, isn't it?
Oh, good actor.
Yeah, and it's basically like he's like, oh, this little 15-year-old girl won't leave me alone. And like, she's pretty hot, I guess. So maybe, yeah. And it's always just like, oh, I think she won Best Villain at the MTV Awards or something. Because like at the end, she ends up kidnapping Tara from Buffy and stuff like this. And it's a full-blown 90s early
Tara
thriller.
doesn't die again, does she?
No, she survives this time.
Oh, I'm still not over the first time.
Well, this predated that, I guess, because she's only like 14 in it too. But it was just that idea of like the early 90s where you had like Disclosure and Fatal Attraction, where I was like, what is with all these women harassing innocent men? Like, what's going on? Like, why
Poor men.
This movie is almost like the culmination of like, well, the supervillain was like this temptress, and she was like, we gave the Iceman like a good backstory where he had motivations and stuff like this, but she's just a psycho.
See, men are just discriminated against. Look, you can't walk 2 minutes down the street without women coming onto you. What's going on? Just leave men alone. They've had it hard enough.
But yeah, I'm nothing to back up that, but I can't help but feel, because this movie is so laden with references to classic Hollywood, with it, the hot voodoo sequence earlier and all the Mae West of Uma Thurman and whatnot. I can't help but feel Joel Schumacher was like, yeah, it's a little Lolita nod, just in the way she takes off the glasses there.
1,000%. I didn't even pick up on it. Yeah, but
yeah,
it's too many references for this one to just be an accident.
Yeah, yeah. Although again, her "I'm sorry" made me think of remember in South Park when they had the BP oil spill. And they kept cutting to like the guys apologizing for it, but they're always like, "We're sorry," and it just kept.
That's exactly how I was hearing it in my head, but I didn't put it together with South Park. Yeah, it's really sarcastic.
He ends up sitting in front of a fireplace, rubbing his nipples, going, "I'm so sorry."
Well, that's the vibe you get from her. She's enjoying it almost because she's getting what she wants. She's unleashing the beast. He's now like a ball of hatred, uncontained rage, isn't he?
It's because then, Arnie goes into. I don't know if Arnie ever gets like another speech like this in his whole career. Like he gets to do a full-on villainous monologue.
Yeah, it's a bit Shakespearean almost.
Yeah, very much so. Although what it also weirdly reminded me of was a Race of Atomic Supermen speech from was it Bride of the Monster or
Bride of the Monster? For the some releases still call it Bride of the Atom, even though it wasn't released under that title.
Actually, that's a better name. I prefer Bride of the Atom. It sounds cooler to me.
Same. But they changed it at the last minute, so I think that's why some just stick with that name. They're like, well, it looks cooler on the poster.
Yeah. You guys, I'm assuming, I know, Alyson, you're a big Tim Burton person, so I know you must know the whole home. I have no home. Hunted. Where it's features in the movie Ed Wood. Do you know the speech, Jarf? The Bela Lugosi's Race of Atomic Supermen speech?
I know Ed Wood, but I don't remember that. No.
It's like a big scene where they're obviously filming Bride of the Atom, and it's a terrible movie. But Bela Lugosi delivers this. He delivers this monologue where he's just going on about like, "But I will show the world I can be its master. I will perfect a race of atomic supermen that will conquer the world." And it's actually like this really great performance he gives, even though the material is ridiculous.
But he's really going for it, isn't he? It's the way he says race as well. I just love it in his accent because he's like, I will perfect my own race of people. It's like, oh, that sounds really cool.
But this is the same vein. I almost felt again because Tim Burton's an Ed Wood guy that just came out. Maybe Joel Schumacher's like, we'll put in a little speech like the akin to that to give Tim a little nod there. He'll enjoy Mr. Freeze pontificating in this manner.
He should have created his own race of frozen Supermen.
Although
I'm on board.
Weirdly enough, though, I thought you remember in The Boys, like the hit TV show The Boys, they had a bit where Stormfront, Aya Cash's character, she was talking about her background, where it turns out she was a Nazi like way back when. And she's going on about like there's a war on the culture, but we can win it with our race of Supermen. And it's a big impassioned speech, and I was just sitting in my head going, is she actually talking about a race of atomic supermen?
She is, yeah. She's literally talking about the melding of atomic supermen and Nazis.
Yeah. Although this whole time, this season, we've been like, who would be a good Poison Ivy? And like, I'm a massive Aya Cash fan since back when like You're the Worst started. And I've been like, well, it'd have to be against like Margot Robbie in that, crazy Birds of Prey universe. So we need someone who can do snarky villainous, but also comedic. And if they had red hair, that would be good. And the whole time, Aya Cash is just sitting there. And it's only this week I'm like, oh, her. That's who you want as your Poison Ivy right there. But I know she already did a supervillain. Maybe she wouldn't want to do it again. But
it's a very different supervillain, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
And these days, superhero movies are considered real films now, apparently, unless you're Martin Scorsese. His speech, though, here, every line of it is gold. And from Ivy, Freeze is like, their bones will turn to ice. Their blood will freeze in my hands. It's like, oh, yes.
And I like that they go classic horror and add music stings after his lines. So like, boom, boom.
Yeah, that really adds to the drama. You get into it, your blood starts pumping. Yeah. Or your blood starts freezing, I should say. And then the way Ivy delivers it is very, again, old school Hollywood. She's like, kill them, of course. But why stop there? It's like, oh, why should only Batman and Robin die while the society that created them goes unpunished?
Yeah.
I don't say I agree with her, but, it's a messed up society that's led to these weird vigilantes beating people up.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a weird, twisted version of what Batman himself is doing, where he's like, not just punishing the guy who killed my parents, but like going after the society that created that person. So I've got to take down all the corrupt politicians, all the corruption within the city. Like I've got to clean the whole house, basically, to get like. So it's almost a Poison Ivy. It's like, oh wait, I kind of think I might. Am I empathizing with Batman?
My question, though. Did we see the point where Ivy decided that she wanted to kill everyone?
Right. No.
It seems like a jump.
That is a big leap. And I've made a note about it later in the week. It's a massive leap that was never discussed before. That was not her plan. Not in that sense. Not directly, shall we say.
At this point, it's really hard to argue with that.
It would help the plan, let's be honest.
Yeah. Let's just start hard reset.
Yeah. Although, again, because her whole thing with Mr. Freeze here as well is that he has literally now been puppeteered by her. That's why I love how villainous she is in this scene, because it's just like he is now a guy who was supposed to be emotionally cold is entirely ruled by his emotion, and he's just like, you can get him to do anything you want now because he's just so incensed. And she is just literally like puppet master, just like, yep, well, kill them, of course, but why stop there? Like it's so blatant what she's doing, but I guess he just got like the red eyes. He's just got the anger vision on, so he can't see it.
He totally goes in for it immediately, doesn't he? Because then he's like, yes, I shall repay the world for sentencing me to a life without the warmth of human comfort. I will blanket the city in endless winter. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. That's another leap even from him.
Although that's the thing, though, like a world, like sentence me to a life without the warmth of human comfort. It's like, you had friggin' Misbehaving coming on to you.
Yeah.
You had Poison Ivy coming on to you. Who's sentencing you from a life without human comfort?
Yeah, but he only cares for his wife.
Yeah, but even at that, though, it's just like, dude, you could just... Everyone has to grieve and get over their loved ones. You could just move on to someone else after.
The man is mentally ill.
That is true. I guess this is his whole thing. It's just like, that's his villainous side. Like, can't move on, won't move on.
Yeah.
I think this is another thing that would have landed better, back to your point, if he had acted cold and removed.
Mm-hmm.
Up to this point, and not made the puns and joked around and made his gang sing and dance along with him.
Well, what if all of that came after this moment? Like, up until here, he just wants to save his wife. He's a nice scientist. And then this is the tipping point. So then he just goes crazy.
That'd be great, though. If it was played so... It was played 1,000,000% straight in the first like half of the movie, and then the second half is him like, Mr. White Christmas.
Yeah, because he's gone insane.
Yeah.
I actually think that's cool. Nice one, Jarf. I'm on board.
It's cool.
Oh, that was not a deliberate pun, but I'm going to pretend it was. Edit that out.
Although this speech, I think, is almost feels as if it's like it's a leftover from the original concept of Mr. Freeze, because I think they were going to do it originally like the animated series, where he was designed to be more of a Shakespearean tragic figure. I think we mentioned before that when they were making the toys, because they were so pressed for time, they started designing the toy with Patrick Stewart in mind, because they were told Patrick Stewart is playing Mr. Freeze. And then they completely, I think it must have been when Arnie came on board, or when they decided we're going with that kind of vibe, they completely retooled the script and had it inserted with more puns and all this kind of business, because original actors considered were Patrick Stewart, been a favorite, can totally see it, 100%. Anthony Hopkins, who was like, I know he would do it. Like he's a man who doesn't say no to things. So.
I think he'd be good at it, but I know you hate him now.
I don't hate him. I don't like his Hannibal Lecter. I think it's way, way, way too hammy.
Yeah, and every time he's in anything else, you say, he's just doing the same thing.
Yeah, but I don't hate him, John. But in a post-Mads world, he's just 10 times worse.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think he did make a movie with he made a movie with Joel Schumacher called Bad Company. I think it was him and Chris Rock. And I remember when it came out, he was out promoting Hannibal, like the second movie of him playing Hannibal Lecter. And that movie was still in theaters, and Anthony Hopkins is like, I've done some terrible other thing with Joel Schumacher called Bad Company. Like, dude, it's still in the cinema, for Christ's sake, you can't see it.
There's got to be at least a 5-year wait before you admit that something was bad.
Yeah.
Right?
But he's really a guy who's just like, I'll say yes to anything. I'm not gonna, if it's crap, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna like say that it's good to people or anything.
I was say, unless you're Robert Pattinson, where you're like actively on the project you're in while the franchise is still going on.
I did love the way he clearly, after that first goddamn Twilight, he didn't care.
Yeah,
he hates Twilight more than anybody in the world.
Yeah.
There's always people putting up like highlights of his Twilight commentary track where he's talking about anything else but the movie. Like, he's just talking about like, oh, you know that the girl from Paramore calls veggie burgers garden burgers? He just tries to get everyone to talk about this for like half an hour and nobody else is taking it.
It's like me on a podcast where I haven't watched the movie.
Oh my God, I want Robert Pattinson to do a minute-by-minute podcast of Twilight.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect. And just gets in like all the cast of like Zoe Kravitz is there too. Just oh God, why are you making me do this, man?
I'll pay him to do it. I'll give him thousands. I'll give him everything I own.
Yeah. Kristen Stewart's there, just like, I just had a party last night, man. It's 10 a.m. Why are you making me do this now? I was like, what kind of sick weirdo would make someone do that?
But, who on earth would do that?
I think I'm hungover. Wait till you meet Robert Pattinson.
But I think the final of the grand Shakespearean actors was Ed Harris, who I was like, he visibly looks like it. I don't know if I can. Maybe it was.
I think he could do it, but it wouldn't be this Freeze.
No,
it
definitely.
would be more like the animated Freeze.
Mm. But then, of course, when they did switch over, we discussed a couple of times that the three other options they had was.
I know what's coming.
Yeah, top of the iceberg was Arnold Schwarzenegger. 2, of course, Sylvester Stallone. Number 3, Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yes.
Ouch.
I want that world. I want to live in that world. We got that.
Can somebody at least do a deep fake of it?
Yes.
See, I only want to live in that world if Macho Man is playing Batman.
Yes.
And still got the specs on over the cowl.
Oh yeah.
God.
The beard's peeking out from underneath the mask.
No, I mean, I actually said last time we brought this up, but I could see Hogan pulling it off if it's this type of Freeze.
Yeah.
If this was like a made-for-TV Batman movie, that would be genius casting. But like cinematic Batman.
Are you insulting Mr. Nanny?
and the Suburban Commando. I'm going
I grew
home.
up with both of those. I watched both of those like every day for about 3 years or something. I was obsessed. Hulk Hogan was my favorite.
You were 27.
Yeah. I'm not talking about when I was like 7 or something. No,
like
27.
Every week in John's Facebook feed, you just see like watching Mr. Nanny.
Suburban Commando Minute coming soon, people.
Oh, it would be great then. You could have got, if Michael Keaton was in it, you would have had Mr. Nanny and Mr. Mom together at last.
That's the crossover the world has been waiting for. Come on, let's do it. I mean, Hogan hasn't got a lot going on since he came out as like a weirdo racist jerk.
Yeah.
It's like half of Hollywood now, too. It's like, oh, God damn it. Who was it this week? Jesus Christ. Is there anybody left?
No.
Basically, no.
Everybody's racist.
Yeah.
Although I've been looking, one of the great joys of doing this season has been just watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in interviews. Because he's just, like, say what you want about him, but that guy is magnetic as all hell. Like, you can't take your eyes off him.
No, and he just seems like he's having fun all the time.
Yeah. And he was telling a story where, because I thought to bring it up now because Ivy is blatantly manipulating Mr. Freeze here. And I thought it was a genius bit of manipulation on Arnie's part. Where you're saying about like, back in the day, me and Stallone, we weren't just rivals. We weren't friends at all. So, we had to have who has the bigger gun, who has the bigger knife, who has the more definition in the muscles, who has the most, the highest body count in the movie, the most creative kills. Who has the bigger gun? They got so big I was carrying a helicopter gun, for Christ's sake. And at one point then he's just like, apparently he was offered, like, it was words around Hollywood that he wanted to do a comedy, like this back in like 86 or whatever, and they offered him the script for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. And he read it and he's like, this is a pile of garbage, there's no goddamn way I'm doing it.
Really? I could have seen him doing it. That's a surprise.
No, he just flat out turned it down, but then they went instantly to Stallone, and Stallone knew that Arnie was in consideration, so he rang up Arnie and was like, so what about this Stop or My Mom Will Shoot movie? What do you think of that? And Arnie's like, it's great. I think I'm going to do it. And then Stallone was like, whatever it takes, I want to be the star of Stop or My Mom Will Shoot just to stick it to Arnie.
Hey,
and Arnie's now just like,
I tell you what, as a kid, I liked it. I'm sure it's a bad movie, but it appealed to me as a kid. It was
currently on Netflix if you want to revisit it.
Stop or My Mom Will podcast.
Hey, Stop or My Pod Will Shoot.
That sounds a bit a bit dirty though.
No, I think Stop or My Mom Will podcast is a great threat.
And it should be hosted by someone and their own mother.
Oh God.
But the thing is that because you go to Stallone's interviews, and he will verify the story, but it's just because Arnie's always leaning back laughing about it. And Stallone's
he thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah, and Stallone's always like, oh man, I can't believe it. To this day, he's like, wasn't just that. Rhinestone, he tricked me into doing Rhinestone as well. He tricked me into doing like 5 or 6 movies because I thought he was going to do them. It's like the fact that it worked every time on him.
He's like Charlie Brown in the football, but for bad 80s and 90s movies.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I was like, oh my God, Arnie, you evil genius. I loved it so much.
That's why he can play Freeze, an evil genius.
Yeah. I also did note, too, the director of Stop or My Mom Will Shoot is a guy called Roger Spottenswade, who was married to Jack Palance's daughter. So everything's connected. Yeah. There it is, baby.
That's what this whole podcast has been leading up to, is that one bit of trivia.
I don't know. I think the thing that the podcast is leading up to was that friggin' Howard Hughes one last year, where there was just like it took half an hour to go through all of them. It was crazy. After that, it felt like I don't know if there's anything more to talk about with the show. It was.
Let's wrap up.
Although, do you guys have anything more for this minute? Shall we wrap up, or is there anything else left to say about minutes 82?
I'm all noted down for this one.
You were teeing up the way Ivy is manipulating Mr. Freeze and pushing him over the edge. And I have a big note on that going into next minute. So that's a teaser for Wednesday.
Oh, good stuff.
Ooh, that was myself.
Thank you for reminding me too, Jarf, because one thing I thought I did start was when I was talking about that Bride of the Atom speech. Classically, that ends with Bela Lugosi going, pull the string. Pull the string.
Yes.
And of course, Poison Ivy is pulling Mr. Freeze's strings in this very minute. So.
And let me tell you, back when people actually had the sound on their phone, that was my text message tone. Every time I got a text message, it would go, pull the string!
But were you Martin Landau and Ed Wood or Bela Lugosi OG audio?
You know what? I'm trying to remember this. This is how long ago it was now. People don't have the sound on their phone. Yeah. I think it was Martin Landau doing it because I had the DVD, so I just ripped the audio from the DVD.
Yeah. It's probably like a cleaner audio too, because it'll be hissy as all hell, I think, with the Bride of the Atom stuff.
Hey, my Bride of the Monster DVD is okay. My Bela Lugosi doing the Wolfman, you can't see it. I bought it for like £2 in a charity shop.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can't see it. You can't hear a single line of dialogue. You're just like, what the hell is this? Who released this?
You have to make up the movie in your own mind. It's an interactive experience.
It felt like an art piece, where that's the challenge. Is you need to put your own spin on it. What do you get from this?
I also now do want to do a minute-by-minute podcast where we're talking about Bride of the Atom, but I keep calling it Bride of the Atom, and you keep calling it Bride of the Monster. And it just gets more and more aggressive as the season goes on.
But we never directly address it.
Yeah, it's just every time it's like, oh, we're here to talk about minute 71 of Bride of the Monster, and I'm just like, yeah.
We will head off now into the dark, dark night. Would our wonderful guests like to tell people where they can be found online? Jarf, you can go first.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram at Jarf Harden and Twitter at Inspector Flora.
Hey. And Alyson, what about you?
I mean, I don't have anything to promote or anything, but if you like dank memes, you can add me on Facebook. I don't care.
I mean, you are basically the lord of the memes.
Well, I do. I'm a curator.
That was there was a weird dance in becoming friends with Alyson, because I knew you by name from the meme pages first. And then it was like you came into Titanic minutes, and then it was like, now there's an excuse to actually add this person because we kind of run in the same circles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What weird circles, man. It was like, wait a minute, I know this guy's name. He's in my podcast groups. What the heck?
On that note, we will head off. Come and speak to us as well on Facebook, the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, the same place you always go. Twitter at Bat Minute, Instagram, The Bat Minute. And why don't you give us a review on Apple Podcasts? I never say that. I was going to say iTunes, but it's not called that anymore.
Is it really not? Oh.
No, and ever since it changed, nobody does reviews anymore.
Oh.
We got a bunch of reviews, and then once it switched, not one. But please do go and do it, because it does actually help us. It bumps you up the table, the ladder, so to speak. So do that, and join us again on Wednesday for more Bat Minute and Robin.
Next time, stop global warming, start global cooling, turn the world into a giant icebox. I'm back. I thought I was dead. Sordid chicanery is schemed in Ivy's sanctuary as the sorceress of sunflowers suggests Victor takes his plan planetary. Oh, that poison ivy. I like to pollinate her. But as the noxious Nefertiti fools Freeze into following her floral fervor, what else has she got in stock in her little shop of horror? It's Go-Go Flower Rangers on Wednesday. Bat mites, penguin mites, penguin pals. Time for this. Same penguin pod, different penguin minute.
We'll be back.
back.